The Canadian Grand Prix is up on deck, and I believe we're going to see a very chaotic 70-lap Grand Prix. And I am here today to give y'all my full-on predictions of that Grand Prix, but also give y'all my full-on predictions for the 2025 driver lineup. So stay tuned for that. But enough said here, and on to the intro we go.
I'm Chase Briscoe, driver number 14 Ford Mustang for Stewart Haas Racing, and you're watching William Blackwell on YouTube.
Alrighty here, let's take a look at the Canadian Grand Prix track layout, which F1 teams will race 70 laps this upcoming weekend in. So here we go. Sector 1, it's a very short run at the beginning of the race once the lights go out. Then you have the hairpin in turn number 2, and then turn number 3 is a very tight one. 4 is 2. We'll see a lot of accidents there. Turn number 5 isn't really a turn in the modern day F1 cars, as it will probably be flat out. Turn 6 and 7 are very crucial because if you have good runs, you will have a great DRS zone, but if you have a bad one, you're going to lose a tremendous amount of time in this very important passing zone. Turn number 8 and turn number 9 will also see some accidents, so keep an eye on 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And then we got turn 10, the hairpin, very tight, and then we got that long DRS zone. And then we got the chicane to start it out, or end it out more like, and that's a lap in Canada. The driver winning the 2024 Canadian Grand Prix will be no other than the man from down under. No, it's not Daniel Ricciardo, but it is Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri has qualified on the front row for the last 2 races before he had a penalty taking place in Imola, but he had a good run there, but he also had a podium in Monaco, finishing runner-up. And I believe in some stages of the race, he was much quicker than Leclerc, but you can't pass in Monaco, so Leclerc kept the win. But towards the end of the race, Piastri did burn his stuff up. But I believe, though, heading over to the Canadian Grand Prix, the McLaren cars are going to be very quick. The track has been resurfaced, so I believe this will help Oscar Piastri because how aggressive he is with tire management, which is practically 0 for him. He goes full out every single lap. So yeah, Oscar Piastri wins the Canadian Grand Prix, his maiden win. Second place is going to be Max Verstappen. Right now, Red Bull are struggling to find their identity. At the beginning of the year, we saw all these allegations pop up, and people are leaving left and right. And right now, it's up to Max Verstappen and Christian Horner and Sergio Perez to take a stand to the matter and to do really well on track. Because if you're doing really well on track, all the stuff outside is just going to be pushed to the side. Simple as that. But if you're struggling, more and more people will start to talk about it. So runner-up for him in Canada. Third place would be Charles Leclerc. Yes, his win in Monaco was a win. I'm not going to discredit it, but let's just be honest here. He wasn't the quickest car in Monaco. The quickest car, I would probably have to say, was Piastri at some stages of the race, and even Lando Norris. So, yeah, he won his home Grand Prix. Kudos to him. But the reality is, Ferrari isn't that quick like we all think they really are. Yeah, so third place there for him. Fourth place is going to be Lando Norris. I believe he's going to have a very rough qualifying session, and he will have to make it all up on race day. But the good news for him, you can actually pass at the Canadian Grand Prix circuit in Montreal. So, yeah, he'll have a good chance of making up a lot of positions. He's not a top qualifier, if you will. Oscar Piastri will carry that for McLaren as a good qualifier. George Russell, P5, I cannot get my words out today. George Russell has started to take a step forward as the number 1 driver in Mercedes. Obviously, we all know what Lewis Hamilton is throwing out there after the recent interview in Monaco where he said Russell's getting all the good stuff and strategy. He's giving up. That's what Hamilton's doing. Let's just be honest here. He's giving up on the 2024 season, and it's helping George Russell look much and much better week in and week out. And, yeah, that has to play a big factor in his confidence rising up. So P5 for George Russell. P6 is going to be Carlos Sainz, a rough weekend for him. Probably should have won the Grand Prix here in Canada back in 2022, I believe it was. But he wasn't that quick on the straightaways, and that's what killed him because Max Verstappen was able to run away with the DRS detections before it was all set in stone because Sainz going to get to a second. So that helped him, Verstappen, not in that occasion there. But behind him is going to be Sergio Perez in P7. P8, Alexander Albon, and P9, Lewis Hamilton. Yes, he's giving up on the season. I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan wearing an Oscar Piastri shirt, but the truth is, Hamilton has his eyes set for the 2025 season, not 2024. I'm just being honest here, and I'm telling the truth. All right, P10, Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin. Are they going to be into points at the end of the year? At the rate they're at now, they're going to be battling Haas and RB. It's not looking good for them. Their development game is horrendous, and I kind of fear that we may see a Haas 2021 all over again in 2025 with Aston Martin. And it looks like they have all their eyes set on the 2026 new regulations. And if that's the case, they're going to have zero development in 2025 and put all their time and effort on 2026. So Aston Martin may be crap next year, if we're just being honest here. And we're kind of getting the idea of that right now. All right, P11, Lance Stroll. P12, Esteban Ocon. And then Pierre Gasly will come in 13th place. Yes, they had a little deal in Monaco, but Bruno Famin, the team principal, very, very unprofessional. If we're being honest here, Bruno Famin should not have criticized his driver like that out to the public. Very unprofessional. Not like, why are you going to throw your driver under the bus? Like your number one driver, because Esteban Ocon is clearly the Alpine number one driver. Pierre Gasly hasn't had a good running this year until Monaco. And if we're being honest here, Monaco was all about track position. If Pierre Gasly did not have that, it was going to be crap. So Esteban Ocon trying to make the most out of a situation. And yes, I did see the onboard footage of him going in to turn, what was it, 3? And yeah, Gasly pushed him out the way, so he was pissed in that tight little corner. So he kind of pushed the needle, and that's where they collided. But Ocon, yeah, why are you calling him out like that? That's very unprofessional. And Alpine is a very unprofessional team. How much I hate to say it, I really used to like the team back in the day, but it's hard to root for them nowadays. The management has gone down big time. All right, here, P14, Valtteri Bottas. He is a runner in the Alpine battle, possibly getting a ride in 2025. You got Mick Schumacher. You also got Jack Doohan and maybe Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent sucks. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's an American driver, and he has money. And who needs money? A lot of these back markers at the moment. So keep an eye on Logan Sargent. He may get a ride next year due to funding. All right, here, P15, Yuki Tsunoda. P16, Nico Hulkenberg. P17, Logan Sargent. 18, Kevin Magnussen. So there's a lot of people that are threatening today's world and society and humanity. There's a lot of people. You know where I'm getting to. And one of them people is Kevin Magnussen. Keep an eye out if you're at a Grand Prix, if you're playing F124, the video game. If you're by Kevin Magnussen, do not let your guard down. You got a chance of being upside down, into the wall, anything. You're not safe at all. So stay your distance from Kevin Magnussen. I mean that in a joking manner. Danny Ricciardo, P19, and Zhou Guanyu, P20. And same for Logan Sargent. Zhou Guanyu could very well get a ride next year in F1. Possibly of Haas, and it's going to be because of funding. And he is not a good driver. I don't know who needs to hear that. Zhou Guanyu is not an F1 capable driver. He can go over to IndyCar and do really well, but F1's not for him. For being honest here, but those are my predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix. And now on to my driver lineup predictions. So there we go. Red Bull is going to be interesting. Yes, we're hearing the rumors right now that Sergio Perez will be back alongside Max Verstappen, but how long could this work? Because we're seeing Ferrari and McLaren, I guess you can say Mercedes because they've gotten better since the beginning of the year, starting to creep towards them in the Constructors' battle. And the Constructor battle for the team is much more important than the Drivers' battle. And so they're going to want to keep a close eye on that. So signing him for 2025 was a little, I guess you can say, conservative. But they could have obviously looked around for different drivers on the grid to replace him as a number 2 driver, possibly Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda. But if it's not happening now for Yuki Tsunoda, it's never going to happen, if we're being honest here. So Tsunoda may be on the move next year, but we'll see. So there you go for Red Bull. Ferrari's obviously going to be Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Mercedes is going to be Kimi Antonelli and also Woody, George Russell. Right here, McLaren is going to be Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And then we're going to have the State Kick F1 team have the drivers of Esteban Ocon and Nico Hulkenberg. Alpine will have Jack Doohan and Pierre Gasly. And Haas is going to have Ollie Behrman. And also, this right here is going to be interesting. Valtteri Bottas, bringing in the American spirit and culture, if you will. Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, they're going to have Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson right now, he is so deserving of an F1 ride. We saw what he did last year, filling in for Daniel Ricciardo at the end of the year. He was phenomenal. So he needs a ride. He really does. Williams, this is where it's going to get real interesting here. Carlos Sainz will join Alexander Albon. And then ending things out with Aston Martin, Lance Stroll, and Fernando Alonso, there's no change there. And I believe it is a very crucial year for the team. Like I said earlier in the video, they really can't afford to not develop the car in 2025 because drivers throughout the year will kind of disengage themselves from the sport and they will not give no effort. And practically you'll be heading into 2026 with a lineup with practically a year off in F1, for being honest here. They're just going to be coasting around in the back, and that's my fear of Aston Martin. They're just all in on the 2026 regulations. But what if they miss it? What if they miss it? That would be a true embarrassment for the team and the manufacturer and the whole business itself and all their sponsors. So, I don't get it, but it's their only chance of getting Fernando Alonso a title. So, I'll be all right. I'll be hushed for now. But you heard it from me first. They may be doing a Haas all over again. But there you go. What do you think about today's video? Comment down below. And what do you think about some of the takes also? It's very curious to know. Everybody have a good one. Please like and subscribe.